Hello everyone, today we're going to be exploring Aztec mythology. This was a presentation done by me, Shade Zender, and I hope you like it. I am going to be talking fast because I have so much information and so little time, I'm just apologizing in advance. Anyways, moving on. It's Major Gods time. We have to introduce the stars of our show before performing the show. Duh. So up first is Ometeot. Good old Ometeot, you know what, I'm just going to call him Oatmeal because, well, it's hard to say, was an androgynous dual god, meaning it had a female side and a male side. Oatmeal came from literally nothing, just empty space, and had lots of kids. That's all you really need to know about it. Oatmeal's first kid was CHUPUCABRA, who was known as the Flayed God. CHUPUCABRA was the god of seasons, rebirth, spring, agriculture, sacrifice, and a bunch of other stuff that isn't as important. CHUPUCABRA was called the Flayed God because it was always depicted as wearing the flayed skin of a human sacrifice. Super fun! Our next child is Telepoka, who I'm going to call Tez for short, and he was a real troublemaker, but we'll talk about that later. He's also known as Smoking Mirror and was the god of the night sky and sorcery. Our third child is Quetzalcoatl, also known as the Plumed Serpent. He was the god of air and wind. Fourth kid was called Huitzilopochtli, who I'm going to call Wheezy. His nickname was the Hummingbird of the South and was the god of the war and the sun, but kinda, not really, but we'll get into that more later. Okay, now that we know the stars, it's time to present to you our show called Origin Story Time. But like any mythology, there are tons of variations of the origin story, so we're just going to go with the most commonly accepted one. It was thought that before our present world, there were 4 other basically trial versions. With every version, there was a different god of the sun to go with it. So, let's get into our little mishaps that used to be our world. Number 1, the first god of the sun was good old Tez, but the light that he was producing as the sun was too dull. In addition to that, his brother Quetzalcoatl was jealous that Tez was the sun, not him. So Quetzalcoatl knocked Tez out of the sky. Tez, being petty, but rightfully so, set loose a bunch of jaguars to kill off mankind. Poor mankind. With Tez gone, Quetzalcoatl took over as the second god of the sun. But mankind was too unruly, they stopped worshipping the gods. Tez, still having a temper tantrum, decided to turn all humans into monkeys. I guess it was deserved, but this display of power crushed Quetzalcoatl, and so he stepped down from being the god of the sun. The third god of the sun was Tlaloc, who unfortunately had a wife called Xochiquetzal. Because Tlaloc had such a busy job as the sun god, Ted was able to kidnap and assault his wife. Wow, super mature, Tez. Tlaloc was so upset that the world went into a huge drought. When humans began to beg for water, Tlaloc was so depressed that he sent down fire until everyone died. Wow, real cheery stuff. Anyways, fourth sun goddess, not god, goddess, was called Chalchiutlique. We'll call her Chalk. Chalk was loved by mankind. She was amazing at her job. But stupid Tez has to go and ruin things again. He insults Chalk by saying she wasn't actually kind, just selfish, and Chalk gets so upset that she cries blood for 52 years. This obviously kills mankind and we have to start again. Yay. I was rooting for you, Chalk. Okay, so fifth, final, and present god of the sun is actually a combo called Nawi Olin. And the reason I say combo is because it's actually a constant war between Wheezy, who is the war god from before and our present sun god, and Tzi Mime, who represents the female stars. They're constantly fighting, and the only way to stop our planet from being destroyed is to keep honoring and worshipping them. That way they'll never run out of energy. Yay! Alright, moving on to afterlife time. The way the afterlife worked was that when you died, where you went wasn't dependent on what type of life you would live, just how you died. There were 5 different options called houses of dead. Let's look at them. The first house of the dead was the house of the sun. Warriors, human sacrifices, and those who died during childbirth all came here. They first spent 4 years as Kwa'uteka, also known as companions to the sun. The warriors and sacrifices all stayed with the sun when it rose in the morning until midday, which is when the woman took over and would guide it till sunset. After their 4 years of service, they would be reborn as a butterfly or hummingbird. The second house of the dead was the Tlalocan, which was a paradise that was in a constant state of spring. You got sent here if your death was due to water or an illness that was supposed to be in control of Tlaloc, who was the guy that was supposed to be the third god, sun god if you remember, and he was also known as the god of rain. If your death was super violent, this would also be the place that you went. Our third house of the dead was called Chichiwakwa, and wow, is that a long name? But if you died as an infant, this is where you would go. This realm was filled with trees that had milk that the infants would drink until it was time for them to be reborn. The fourth house of the dead was Si Kal Ko, the place where those who died due to suicide or as children would go. Sadly, I couldn't find a picture for this one, but I would imagine it to be peaceful as it was ruled by maze matron goddesses who were known for their tenderness. The fifth and final house was Mictlan, which is where a lot of people went. If your death wasn't really noteworthy, this is where you got sent to. It was ruled by 2 death deities whose name you can read on screen because I can't pronounce them. Anyways, Mictlan was the name of the place you reached after you suffered through 9 trials that took 4 years to complete. Alright, last topic's coming out. We're totally already over the time limit, but it's fine. Other stories time. What else was cool and important? Well, first off is my personal favorite, the Chupacabra. It's not that important, but it's cool, so, you know. The name literally means goat sucker, so how could you not love it? The first sighting was in 1995, and it was being blamed for leaving uneaten's body of domestic animals. Except the bodies have been completely drained of blood. Not creepy at all. So here are some slides about the capital city, and I'm really running out of time, so if you want to pause and read about them, go ahead, but I can't talk about it, because again, I don't have that much time left. Okay, so thank you. I hope you enjoy this totally not rushed presentation, and if you want to see my sources, stick around a bit longer. If not, have a good rest of your day, and goodbye. Here are my sources for information, and here are my sources for the pictures in order that they appeared.